you, Jaspal, for giving this opportunity. Am I to speak in English or Punjabi?
Either.
Equal language, so
French.
By the way, we just released the Guru Nanak documentary in French just 2 days back. But I can't speak in French, but Anji, what? So, shall we go English? I mean, you tell me, Okay. Or we go English? Double language karna, it gets a bit tough, because then you switch. English. That's great. So, thank you so much to North American Sikh Medical Dental Medical and Dental Association for giving me this opportunity. It's been a long flight from Singapore, but I'm always happy to come and engage with the community anywhere. As I told Jaspal, the projects run when we come and collaborate together, right? And there's big bodies of work that has happened in the last 13, 14 years, and they're all legacy content, right? I'll not get into all this because the next few days we'll hear different bodies of content, but right now I've been asked to talk about a presentation that I delivered in February at the Harvard University. I was invited to speak on the Indic saints. This has been rebranded out here, so we rebranded it as Think Like a Sage and Act Like a Leader, but it really was about the Indic saints in the Bhakti period, and Guru Nanak is in the smack center of the Bhakti period. And what was the amalgamation across the entire subcontinent that was done out of that effort, and Guru Nanak has a big role to play inside this, right? And somehow, I feel the Sikhs have boxed him to the point that we're not telling the world what we are supposed to tell, right? And the presentation at the Harvard University was aimed at to achieve that, right? And I think we got a fairly good response. Thereafter, this talk has been taken into different places. So let's start with this artwork. This is done by our daughter. She's a miniature artist, but this depicts, the 9 trees. Rab jada hai. The unfortunate part is that we have made the God in our Guru Nanak's philosophy as not, I think, what he was proposing to us. Because Guru Nanak's so-called God, Kudrat, is the creation itself. Creation and the divinity, because he says, Bhagat Ravidas says, Tohi mohi mohi tohi antar kaisa. What's the difference between you and me? He's not talking about you and me, he's talking about that and me. Where that is everywhere, right? What's the difference? Because I'm a part of that. Kabir Sahib says, Khalak, 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 mein Khalik. The creator is the creation, creation is the creator, because it's evolving. The God of yesterday is not the God of today and will not be the God of tomorrow. Because we are all collectively one, right? The Ekumkar is not God is one. Ekumkar is the entire creation is one composite unit. The creative, sustenance and destructive aspects, which takes Akar, is not the one before that, is not meaning that God is one. It means the entire ecosystem is intertwined into the one essence, which is the substratum from which we all emerge. It's a very different mindset, right? And all Bhagats are talking about that. So, the 10 trees out there are representing the 10 gates of our body. And the humans are shown just at the bottom as a part of the entire creation. This is the artist's concept, right? Because we are not, as what we think as egoistic people driving everything. We are just a part of the creation. We are no more bigger than that. So humans are being given a space, and creation is the entire Kudrat itself. That's what is being represented. So the topic is think like a sage, act like a leader. Right? Leadership is something that will come in the end of this presentation, leaving a thought for you to think about what Guru Nanak talks about as a situational leadership. A situational leadership in the corporate world is taught to us as an outcome of what your skill and will. For every task, we have a matrix where we say, what's my skill, what's my will? And depending on that, a leader says how you should actually lead a person. Agar kisi ko skill hi nahi hai, will बहुत high hai, your leadership direction will be very different. Someone has a will which is 0 and the skill is very high, the leadership direction has to be very different. It's a very segmented approach. Guru Nanak is going to give you a model. Somehow we ignore these things, right? What the corporate is teaching right now is there in the Granth Sahib. We just need to delve into it with a different perspective. So let's start with But that's going to be right in the end. First, we have to go through the sage aspect, and then the leadership will come out at the end. So, experiential wisdom. Guru Nanak is all about experiences. Experience, because a lot of people sometimes say Guru Nanak traveled to spread the faith. Sorry if I'm saying this openly, and I was told not, I requested not to speak inside of the bar hall, because I do cross boundaries at times, right? But I'll take the liberty because I've been asked to speak here, but I think we're all professionals here. We'll excuse if things go a bit beyond the line. But a lot of times we're told Guru Nanak traveled to spread the faith. No, he traveled as a person curious to know. He was on a quest to know something and to seek and impart, because Guru Nanak in his own words says, Jablak duniya rahiye Nanak, kich suniye kich kahiye. Till you exist in this world, Guru Nanak says, seek and impart, seek and impart, seek and impart. It has to be a two-way communication. That's why he went into his udasis and he had these dialogues. Guru Nanak is all about dialogues. Somehow I feel that we have become a one-way communication. And that's why I was requesting, don't have me speak in this platform, because it becomes a one-way communication. Right? Samvad band ho gaya sari community ke andar. Samvad has to be there. That's what Guru Nanak is all about. Dialogue. Samvad is dialogue. So he's an experiential person, and his wisdom emerges from the experiences. Let's hear this, what it says, and then we move forward.
During the medieval period, the Indian subcontinent was experiencing a political, religious, and social downturn. Caste divisions, ritualism, oppression, and hierarchy had corrupted society. In this background, two parallel reformist movements, Bhakti and Sufi, emerged in the early 10th century to weave together the rich social and religious fabric of society. This progressive force gave impetus to experiential wisdom over theoretical knowledge. They voiced opinions in the vernacular, incorporating local and foreign languages. Their mission was to rejuvenate society with the spirit of oneness in diversity. To extend the reach of this awareness, Guru Nanak laid the foundation of committing the oral tradition to document through scribing, so that this reality could transcend generations.
So he founded something which the Indian tradition was not doing prior to this, which is documenting, and I'll come to that. But I want to start by saying, think like a sage, act like a leader. I found the best definition of leadership when I was working in American Express. That time our CEO used to be Ken Chenault. He retired, and he came once to Singapore, and he gave a very powerful one-liner statement, and that has stuck in my mind for long enough, and I'm bringing it out here. He says, leadership is nothing but just defining reality and giving hope. Very simple. If you have any problem, define it properly, give hope to the person, that's it. Because things will evolve from there. So leadership, you can create whatever you want to, you can write books on it. The fact is, just if a good leader can define the reality and give some hope, that's it. So the Guru Granth Sahib is defining the reality and the spiritual world, giving us hope also. Because at the end of the day, every Shabad we say, Kahe Nanak, or Kaho Kabir, Kahe Ravidas. That's to give hope, a conclusion. Rahao Tok is defining the topic of discussion, and the other lines are defining the reality that we are observing, and then we are concluding the entire Shabad by saying, Kaho Nanak, or Kaho Kabir. So we are giving some hope going forward. But my question is, has anything changed? Guru Nanak, we just completed 550 years. Has anything changed? Nothing has changed. Right? The fact is, Guru Nanak came, Prior to that, Baba Farid came, many more people came in the past, many more will come in the future. But has anything changed in the case of the human mind? No, nothing has changed. The reality is that. In terms of our instincts, in terms of how we behave. Does that mean that more Nanaks should not come? We need people to inspire us. This is not about seek faith we're talking about. Wisdom can come in any form. Your son or your daughter can be a wisdom imparting person to you. A child can give you wisdom, situationally, right? So, whatever it is, the fact is, reality will not change, and we need to have hope, and we need to have saints, we need to have people who give us the direction always around. That is leadership, right? So, let's just step back. Look at the Bhakti period, about 1200 to about 1700 AD in the Indian subcontinent. There is no internet. We think internet is for granted, right? No internet. There is no printing press. Why I'm saying this is, information took a quantum leap of being passed down in the 1870s when the printing press came in. It was a technology revolution. In our time, in our life, somewhere in the 1990s, internet comes in. From then to now, see how rapidly information is flowing in. Look at 550 years back, Guru Nanak's time. How would information be flowing? He has to travel across miles and miles to have dialogues, only to have dialogues. And he writes down his entire verses in a pothi, and that gets passed down. How would this information be moved? Someone has to physically write it down. How cumbersome it is. You would sit in congregations, right? That's how it would move. But Guru Nanak does something which is very, very beautiful. Right in the smack center of the Bhakti period. Baba Farid is 1200 and something AD. Joydev, who's one of the Bhagats whose writing is in the Guru Granth Sahib, from Bengal, is about 1200 AD. Bhagat Namdev, he's from Maharashtra, somewhere around 1200. And Guru Nanak is somewhere, along with Kabir Sahib, is somewhere around 1469 he was born. In the smack center of the Bhakti period. Guru Nanak travels a lot, but he goes to Baba Farid's place with Bhai Mardana on the first occasion, and the second occasion he goes on his own, because Bhai Mardana has passed on. And if you see all this body of work is on their website, web series called thegurunanak.com, which our team did. By the way, I would like to introduce Salman Khan is sitting there today with you. Salman, can you please get up? I'm introducing him because not many people know, but he was the one who did the entire filming in all the Islamic countries. And we are very grateful we got the right kind of mindset, because that's a very high quality production. Maybe the entire Sikh community has still not understood what's been offered, but he did the large piece of filming with us, right? So he's like a son. He is our son, in fact, right? So, so he did that. So we are fortunate he's here today with us. So we were filming in Baba Farid's place in Park Patan. On the walls of Baba Farid's place in Park Patan, I can read Urdu. What I noticed is that the writings of Baba Farid on the walls on his mazar are word by word matching by what is there in the Guru Granth Sahib. Word by word. I'm taking you somewhere. I was born in Gorakhpur in UP, 20 kilometers from a place where Bhagat Kabir Sahib left his body from. And I, as a kid, used to go to that place, Maghar, quite often. And that time I didn't have an interest in this subject. And when I used to go there, I was delving into the writings of Kabir Sahib. And when I started delving, I found Kabir before Nanak. That's the way my life was. I was in UP. I found Kabir much before Nanak. And sorry if I sometimes miss out the words Guru and all. I'm just talking close to me, right? So I used to go through Bijak and here and there, and then I started reading Guru Granth Sahib. I used to look for the correlation between the Kabir Bani in UP, and when it comes into the Guru Granth Sahib, what are the changes? Why is it not matching? Why is it that I find Rahul line has been inserted? And that's a different topic. We can talk about some other day. But what I found was when we were filming in Baba Farid's place, it was word by word matching. Okay. The reason is how I rationalized it to myself is when Guru Nanak went to Baba Farid's place, he started a very, very unique process at that time. Unique, I say, it's not unique from our times point of view, but in those days it used to be only oral tradition. No one would give you knowledge by writing. You sit down, you learn kirtan, you learn singing, you learn tabla by sheer interaction with your guru, right? At Baba Farid's place, Guru Nanak starts writing down the Baba Farid's verses, which at that time the Gaddi machine was Sheikh Kamal, the 12th generation of the Sheikh Kamal was one of his people out there. But the 12th Gaddi machine of Baba Farid, who was there, is also known as Sheikh Brahm. Sheikh Brahm, and his mazar is, his grave is at the Khemkaran on the Indian side. The border just, the wire goes like this, and his grave is like here. Pakistanis come on the other side, pass their offerings on this side, and it's so unfortunate. There's a wire that goes and divides the area. But anyhow, we lost the Kartarpur that side. The Sheikh Brahm is on this side, so it's very unfortunate. But he starts documenting Baba Farid's Shabad. That's all I want to say. But it's a very novel act because no other person was doing it. Kabir Bani was not documented by Kabir Sahib. The earliest documentation of Kabir Sahib's Bani happens is in the Guru Granth Sahib. And that's why you find the Kabir is so porous, because Kabir did not pass his baton of leadership to anyone. Unlike the Sikh Gurus who passed the baton to Guru Angad, and therefore later on it just goes on for 9 more Gurus. And in 250 years, an entire community gets formed. But Kabir Sahib does not pass the baton. And by not passing the baton, there are some positives and there are some challenges that emerge with that. And by passing a baton, also some positives and some challenges emerge. The positives is that an entire community rallied around it. You got a structure today around it. It's a corporate structure. It's an organization. It formed an empire. We achieved a lot. Kabir Sahib, but Guru Nanak has to be sung only in a particular style. That's the outcome of it. Good or bad, I'm not getting into that. Kabir Sahib did not pass the baton, and so there's no rallying around Kabir Sahib, this thing. But Kabir Bani changes in UP, changes in Bihar, changes in Bengal, changes in Karachi, changes in Punjab. But what happened is, when it came to Punjab, that's the time of Guru Arjan's time, and we don't know how it happened, but the beauty is that Guru Nanak documents Baba Farid's writings, and by the time it comes to Punjab, at the time of the 5th Guru, the writings of the entire 14 more saints come together from Indian subcontinent into Punjab, the land of 5 rivers. This is the slide I'm showing in terms of timelines. 13th century, 1200s, these are the saints, then the 14th century and the 15th century. The concept of India as a political nation is a very recent phenomena post-British. But the concept of the subcontinent's integration is the gift of Punjab to the entire subcontinent. Because culturally, spiritually, 15 saints were amalgamated through the simple, humble effort of Guru Nanak, having documented Baba Farid's Bani, and therefore, by the time of Guru Arjan, the entire amalgamation happens. This is the oneness in diversity. Diversity is allowed to exist, allowed to coexist. But as long as you understand Ek Omkar means we are all intertwined into the one same substratum from where we emerge. So now from there, we have to, I just want to lay down one thing before I get down to the leadership angle is, amongst all these saints, as I've been studying them, I've noted one thing common. See, Bhakti was a period that was started in South India, much before 12th century. I'm talking about the northern part, right? 12th century is when it starts. But in the southern India, there were Madhavacharya and the others who were much before these saints we're talking about. Why do the Sikh Gurus include these saints and not the South Indian saints? I have no answer of right and wrong, but I'm just trying to rationalize. Probably the answer is here. Probably. These saints were all family oriented. Kabir Sahib was married, Ravidas ji was married, Joydev ji was married, all of them were family oriented. They were all economic contributors. If anyone thinks Baba Nanak was not an economic contributor, well, before he went on his Udasis, he was working in Sultanpur Lodi, and after he came back, he worked as a farmer. They were all economic contributors. Ravidas ji was a shoe repairer, right? A chamar, chamri da kam karte san, right? Kabir Sahib, Bunde san. All of them were economic contributors. And all of them were human rights advocates. When you start understanding Bani, the more deeper you go inside, you realize that Guru Nanak and all the Bhagats are only talking about human rights advocacy. Equality of humanity, discrimination to be eliminated, and so on and so forth. They were trying to resolve for the issues that exist in the society. So these are the basic things that amalgamated the cultural and spiritual India in the land of 5 rivers in Punjab that time. And that's what we have as a Guru Granth Sahib, as the scripture that we bow down to. Now, what is the path of these Indic saints who are economic contributors, family oriented, and human rights advocates? Well, Guru Nanak Sahib says, Jan Nanak ek khel kathan hai, kinu gurmukh jana. He clearly says it. This is not an easy path. It is tough. But life is not easy. Life is tough for everyone, right? Even the person born with a silver spoon or a gold spoon still has their own challenges, right? Life is tough. But this path that we're talking about is even tougher. And I want to depict this by 2 spirals. Most of us are living in this spiral on the left-hand side, where it's like a tornado which rises from a small whirlpool effect and it keeps growing bigger and bigger. This is the whirlpool of desires. I want this, the next. I want to go and see a movie. Now I need to have a burger. I need to have this. I need a car. I need clothes. I need friends. And the whole thing is just spiraled up, right? It's just a small thought spirals up. The desires never end. Desires always go up. The model that the Indic saints are giving you, the Bhagats and Guru Nanak Sahib are giving you, is very simple. Just turn this tornado. The tornado is going to be there in the life. Life is not easy. Just turn it around. You turn it around, and the simple thing is, you try to overcome desires and live for needs. Transform your desires into needs. Because when you start doing that, then andar santushti aandi hai, achievement hundi hai. And I'll tell you, my 13-14 years of experience post my American Express, for those who don't know me, I was in the corporate world. I have lived the life of these desires for long enough. I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm no saint out here. But I think I've figured out to a certain extent that when you invert the hurricane, the whirlpool, the upside down, the entire creation starts surrounding you with what you think it collaborates to bring it to you. And we have succeeded in every project in the last 14 years we've given back to the community. It's the community's projects. We give it back to community, we don't charge for it. We leave it for the legacy of next generation. And that only happens because your desires have been turned around to manage your needs. I have had a successful career. I've got food on the table, but we need resources to do the project. And that happens, that comes because you're doing the right thing. So the entire creation comes together to do these things. But now what I want to go down to is that the entire creation is transient. It's transient. This whole discussion that's happening will happen for another half an hour and we'll finish off. The entire creation is transient. So let's start by first understanding from Kabir Sahib. What does he say?
हाँ जगत चला जाया कोई न रहिया चल गए कुंभकर्ण और रावण चल गए रामा लखन चारों जगत चला जाया कोई न रहैया.
So that's the Manikarnika Ghat at Varanasi when we were filming this, where all the bodies get cremated. They cremate about 400 bodies every day. That's where we all go. Jagat chala jaya, koi na rahega. So Kabir, let's accept it, the transient aspect of the nature. It is transient. We are here just for a little while. And that's why I started by showing that picture, and I said, we are just small beings inside this entire creation. We think we are achieving something. No, we are achieving nothing. Even you don't even own your breath, you don't even own your thought. It just comes from somewhere. The breath also comes by itself, right? We think we own it, we think we deliver. No, you don't. I can say I'm delivering this project, I've done a Guru Nanak docu-series. No, if I wouldn't have had a thought, nothing would have happened. But did I get a thought? Thought came from somewhere. So it's very transient. Ultimately, we'll all go out here. Whether it was Ram, Kumbhakaran, and anyone knows the Ramayana, whether it be any of these big personalities, they all have gone. That's what it means. Now, if that's what it is, then are these Indic saints telling us to become sorrowful about life? Move away from life? No, not at all. The fact is, you are here for a certain period of time. We are all existing. So we have to believe in existentialism. World is transient, but we are existing inside it. And we have to therefore be involved inside it. It's not negation of your existence. That's not what the Gurus are teaching us. This was filmed in Afghanistan, in the Kurram region. One of the narratives says, if you see the episode number 22 of the Guru Nanak docu-series at thegurunanak.com, you'll find this. We went from the Kurram region on the Afghanistan side, and we crossed and went on the Parachinar side and the Pakistan side. But Kurram region, why? Because one of the narratives says that Guru Nanak's companion, Bhai Mardana, left his body in the Kurram region. One of the narratives. The other narrative says that he left his body in Kartagena. Now, what's right or what's wrong, I have no idea. In fact, I don't even have an idea where Guru Nanak traveled. We've done a docu-series. So we followed a certain methodology, and that's outlined, right? We followed a certain methodology. We're trying to understand the non-mythical Guru Nanak through his verses in this docu-series. But we follow a certain methodology because Guru Nanak has written nothing about his life. He's only giving you 928 verses. Through that, we're going to unravel Guru Nanak, but we're going to follow a certain path that the earliest resources have been written, that is, first text written 70 years after his life, which is written by Bhai Gurdas Ji, and up to 150 years after his life, which is before the onset of the Bala Janam Sakhi, right? So in that text, we followed this. And in that text, one of the texts says that Bhai Mardana passed away in the Kurram region. Why I'm saying this is that this Shabad touches my heart. Because we got this into the docu-series at this point of time. It says, Hum Adami Ha Ikdami. By the way, sometimes break the words. Adami is what? Huh? Man. Let's break it. Adami. Ikdam aya then you are existing. Otherwise you are nothing. You are just dust. Yeah? So beautiful, right? Hum Adami Ha Ikdami. एकदम आया कि मैं आ करके एग्जिस्ट कर रहे हैं, नहीं तो मैं नहीं एग्जिस्ट करता. You exist only for that one breath. That's it. Let's hear this, because he's not asking you to negate. He's asking you to be a responsible agent. Let's hear.
Guru Nanak mentions that life and death is dependent on just one breath. Being unaware of when one's last breath will occur, one should strive to utilize each breath to the best use.
हम आदमी हाँ एकदमी मोहलत मोहत न जाना नानक बिन वैत सरे वो जाके जी पराना अंधे जीवना विचार देख केते के दिना केते के दिना
So, vichar, contemplate. Contemplate that you exist for a little while. Submit yourself to the will of nature. This is Sarero, right? We can say submit yourself to God. Most of our translations say submit yourself to God. No, it is submit yourself to the will of the nature. Because we are a part of the nature. Our organs are a part of the nature. We exist in the nature, right? Submit yourself to the will of the nature. Be a responsible agent. Naam is contemplation, self-reflection. When you reflect and contemplate, you then start going deeper inside the deeper things of life. And each one's contemplation, you are allowed to contemplate and think of life as what it evolves in your stage than in my stage. That's the beauty of it all, right? So he's telling you to be a responsible agent because realize that it's transient. You are existing, be responsible because contemplation is the most right thing. Because with contemplation will come is your realization that everything is one. Everything is one because the substratum from where we are all emerging, the consciousness from where we are all emerging as diverse forms is the same level. Because you came from nothing, you'll go into nothing. How is it any different? So once you start realizing that, then tera, mera, usda te mera, all the things will start going away. You start becoming without fear, you start becoming without where all this starts happening. So this was filmed at Bhagat Ravidas. I'm bringing all the Bhagats inside and I'm going to take you to the situational leadership. Now Bhagat Ravidas on oneness, what does he say? So this is at Varanasi at Bhagat Ravidas's place.
अभी मेरा नाम शिव पूजन दास नाम है बाबा रविदास जी का मंदिर में मैं रहता हूँ इस तरह का रविदास जी का भाव था तो ही मोही तो ही अंतर कैसे कोई सी बात तो बोले कि आप में और मेरे में क्या अंतर है आप जल तरंग है तो मैं जल तरंग का लहर हूँ
Bhagat Ravidas saw no difference between the creator and the creation, and hence he also saw the entire human race as one.
In fact, if I could re-record this, I would not record it as entire human race. He saw entire creation as one. Because human is just one element inside it. But now I want to take you something from the field experience. Now this is something revelation I've had through 14 years of works because I have had the blessings and the opportunities to travel across the entire Indus region. By the way, in different journeys, I've traveled from Karachi at the basin to the source of the river Indus, which is in the Kailash Mansarovar, and across all the other regions. I mean, I have traveled extensively, and I'm not saying I have traveled, our projects have taken us, right? And so therefore, I'm telling you something which is very unique that I've observed. And I want to bring this out because the oneness aspect has to be understood. You see, I find what partition has done has destroyed an entire culture, entire thinking, entire vastness, entire aspects of what our forefathers used to believe in. And I want to show you 3 figures out here, and I'm going to divide them by regions. Civilizations existed along rivers. In the northern India, you had 2 major civilizations. One was along the Gangetic plain, the other was along the Indus plain. And we are people from the Indus region, right? Which is today divided in India and Pakistan. I'm going to show you in the Gangetic region, today when the people write Om, in fact, the ones who write Om don't even know that the Om in the Indus region is a secondary Om, second Om. And if someone has a doubt, open my second book, Lost Heritage, The Quest Continues, and go to the Jamrod Fort. At Hari Singh Nalwa's Samad, Babu Ganjumal Kapoor has written this poem. Every temple I've seen ruins of gurdwaras. While Ek Onkar is there, the Om is written as this, the center one. In the Gangetic belt in the India of today, we have forgotten this one. Our forefathers, as a syncretic culture, used to use this. But either of them used to represent the three forms of energy which creates, sustains, and destroys. And Guru Nanak, what he does is he adds to this to say the three forms of energy which are creating, sustaining, and destroying. It's in everything. We have come together just now, about half an hour back. We came together, we got created, we are sustaining it. After half an hour, we'll finish off. We'll all get destroyed in terms of the energy itself, right? Something energy will move somewhere else, right? Be it in any form. When it takes an akar, ओंकार, उसके आगे एक लगान का मतलब है we are intertwined. Right now we are all intertwined, right? Aren't we? Our existence is intertwined. This is not God is one and sitting somewhere outside. And the beauty of this I want to show you, filmed in Balochistan. If you see the episode 22, episode 22 of the Guru Nanak docu-series, Hinglaj, it's a Shakti Peeth, where Guru Nanak has dialogues with the yogis. The Jangam yogis, what do they say? It is still a tradition that's going on. Hear the words, the music that's being played.
From Chandrakup, we proceed further to the Hinglaj temple. Hinglaj is situated on the west bank of the Aghor river in Balochistan, close to one of the mountains of the Makaran coastal range.
The only reason I'm playing this out here is what we have kind of forgotten is that along the Indus region, this oneness concept transcended across many cultures. The Jangam yogis, while we may say they are Hindus or they're doing this, but in the Shakti Peeth tradition, they still sing Ek Onkar. Ek Onkar, Guru Nanak's Ek Onkar is something that went far and wide in the Indus region. Today it's a bit boxed, but it went far and wide. So Guru Nanak, with this oneness aspect, I'm now going to take it down to the leadership part. So thinking like a sage, first we have to think, I'm just completing the sage part of it. Thinking like a sage means the oneness aspect we have to understand. That's the only message I want to leave out here. No one is different, no one is, I mean, you can have a diversity, but at the grassroots level, we are all intertwined. And therefore, we start respecting each other. You allow the diversity to coexist. We can have differences of opinion. There's no problem in having difference of opinion. But we can't negate someone. That's wrong. And with that, I want to start now towards leadership aspects, 2-3 aspects, and we'll bring this to an end. So ethics, ethical leadership. Guru Nanak is demonstrating ethical leadership at Sultanpur Lodi. Often we say that Tera Tera Sakhi, right? Guru Nanak was doing, and we say, you know, Tera Tera, and the grains kept coming in, right? Well, philanthropy will happen, goodness begets goodness. If you're doing the right thing, philanthropy will come in. The rational way of understanding Guru Nanak is that he was a good practicing employee at the Modi Khana, and therefore people were giving the grains to distribute it. Because some people actually accumulate wealth and some people give it to distribute it. And that's what was happening. That's the essence behind the Tera Tera. And so ethical leadership comes from here.
As a youth, he held a seat of authority at the state granary, where he witnessed the immoral practices of society. For their selfish interests, the officials misused their power, the rich took advantage of their financial status, and the ones who suffered the consequences were the innocent and weaker sections of society. Guru Nanak warned that unchecked absolute power is corrupting. He reminded that compassion with honesty is the fulcrum for a fair and democratic society. which results in socio-economic equilibrium. Proficient in both his job and his knowledge of spirituality, he was respected as a hard-working, trustworthy, honest, and compassionate officer. A co-worker, threatened by Guru Nanak's popularity, made a false complaint to the authorities, accusing him of squandering state revenue. The governor ordered an audit of accounts and a tally of the stocks of grains. The appointed officers discovered that the accounts were in order and that there was actually a surplus of grains which some citizens, following Guru Nanak's charitable conduct, had donated for distribution to the needy. This illustrates the idea that kindness begets goodness.
नानक आखे रे मनो सुनिए सिख सही
Suniye Sikh Sahi. Often people ask, how do you define ethics? I say, you don't need to define ethics. Your conscience knows when you do something wrong. You know it very well, right? I don't need to judge and tell you what's right or wrong, or no one needs to judge right or wrong. Police forces and a system and an entire judicial system is around to actually ensure society lives in a particular way. That's the society ethics. But you know it when you do something wrong. Nanak is talking about that ethical practice. You know it. And it's situational. There's nothing right or wrong. You know it what's right or wrong. Right? But to go towards that process, because see, as I said earlier, materialism has not been shunned. Every one of the Bhagats was a working person. That means they were earning their livelihood. But they were trying to strive beyond. And this comes out in what we study in the management is Maslow's hierarchy, right? If someone studied the MBA, okay, will understand. Maslow's hierarchy is what? You can only strive for higher things in life if your basic needs are satisfied. And therefore, that's why I say, once your basic needs are satisfied, then we start going towards fulfilling our desires. But at some point, you got to turn your desires around and say, I just need the needs. That's the whole circle, right? But if your basic needs are not satisfied, you cannot self-actualize. That's simple, what Maslow says. Bhagat Tanna says the same thing. Now, he's not asking for a Ferrari, but he's asking for a Turkish horse. He wants a good horse. He wants a good spouse. I'm using not the word wife. I'm using a spouse because we are genderless, right? Because a wife also needs a good spouse. It's just because it's a male who's saying it does not mean that only wives have to be good. A good spouse is needed, right? So we just hear this, we hear this every day.
Psychologist Abraham Maslow's law of hierarchical needs states that one can only aspire to altruism if one's basic needs are first fulfilled. In humility, Bhagat Dhanna seeks the provider to take care of his basic needs so that he can peacefully devote himself to the service of others.
Gopal tera aarta तुम्हारी भगत करते दिन के काज सवारता गोपेश मंगो लावेरी इकता जैन तोरी चंगेरी की गीहन चंदे जनतन नाले मंगे.
So Bhagat Tanna is asking for these basic necessities. He's not shunning away. So the last part of this thing that I'm going to talk about, the leadership, is from Guru Nanak's aspect. Before that, let's just recap. We talked about that we are all existing, the world is transient, we are all existing inside this. We need to understand the basic fundamental message of Ikonkar, that we are all intertwined into oneness. Don't have this superiority feeling. Try and work together. Try and respect each other. As the energy you emanate, the same you will get. If we create problems, we also should expect problems there. Right? Move on from there. How do you live in this world? Ethical society. Ethics is what? Ethics has to be not taught to you. You know the ethics. It's right inside your heart. You don't need anyone to tell you. Reflect. Naam is reflect. Contemplate. If you've done something wrong, you will know it. Contemplate on it. And then, once you have the basic needs satisfied, understand you will start then only aspiring towards the higher actualization. So therefore, don't run away from the life. Today I can talk to you at 59 years of age, right? Till 48 years of age, my life was havoc in the corporate world. It was not easy. I was doing something else, and we'll see the documentary there hereafter, which was an unplanned thing, but it's being shown. You'll understand a little bit more about what the evolution was. I'll not get into all that, but I look at my own life. Till 48 years, I was doing something different, but the life was filled with havoc, right? Everyone's life is filled with havoc. So you will only self-actualize when the basic needs are met, but you need to be preparing till you come to that point. If you don't even make an effort, there's no hope there. There's no hope. And Guru Nanak has said it earlier, defining reality and giving hope is the only leadership style that's the best. I said it at the beginning, right? I mean, defining reality and giving hope. And with that, then we come down to what is Guru Nanak's leadership? It's very simple. Let's hear this, and then if I can add a few more words.
Guru Nanak is an expression of divine wisdom. Who did Guru Nanak seek as his teacher, and whose disciple was he? Guru Nanak says, wisdom is the teacher and conscious introspection is the disciple.
It's a beautiful dialogue in the Siddh Ghost of Guru Nanak when he meets the Siddhas, the Shaivite Nath Panthis, the ear-pierced yogis, a tradition which started with the Guru Goraknath. In the 10th century was at its peak. By the time 500 years, I always say reflect. History teaches us a lot. Nothing is static. And therefore we need to be mindful of who we are and how we behave and how we do our things. Because look at Guru Goraknath, he was at the peak of his tradition. Guru Goraknath's Bani, if you read, very beautiful Bani, right? But 500 years down the line, at the time of Guru Nanak, the tradition had dropped down to its lowest point. That's why in India, when they say Gorakh Danda, Gorakh Danda कहते ना कि you are doing wrong things. That Gorakh Danda, Gorakhnath was a very, very peak spiritual leader. But see, in 500 years where it went down, and 1,000 years down the line today, you'd say, oh, tu Gorakh Danda kar rahe hai. You're doing wrong things, right? Look, we are at that cross section, 500 years. That's the only thing I want. I'm not saying we're going that way, but we be mindful. If you see what Guru Gorakhnath's tradition 500 years down the line of Guru Nanak's, why was he having so many dialogue with the Nath yogis? Because it had come down. They were siddhas, they were spiritualists. Nothing wrong with them. But Guru Nanak, with these disciples, he's having these dialogues. He's trying to invoke their spirits to that original traditions. And today it's become Gorakh Dhanda. We are at that cross point, 500 years. Think about it. Nothing is static. And when Guru Nanak goes to one of these communes of the Nath Yogis, the Kanpatta Yogis, look at it. I'm going to play around with the words. Tera kavan guru, iska tu chera. Or tell us, who's your guru? Tu kithon aa gaya hai? Tu kitha chela hai? Literally, it's like someone asking that, you know. It's from Bani, but it's literally saying, iska tu guru hai, tera guru ko hai, tu kitha chela bhai, tu kithon aa gaya hai? Saadi commune de andar. And he gives a beautiful answer. And I will say that's the situation in leadership with which we want to end this presentation. He says, Sabad Guru, Surat Dhun Chela. He says, Sabad, words of wisdom. Sabad is words of wisdom. Expand it beyond. Words of wisdom. Wisdom can come from many angles. As I said before, even a child can give us wisdom at times. Our daughters teach us many things at times, right? Words of wisdom are the teacher. Sabad Guru are the teacher. Surat Dhun Chela, the consciousness. Surat is inside, the consciousness. When it is attuned, Dhun, that is the disciple that is learning. That means I'm trying to learn from that wisdom. I'm being receptive. I'm open-minded. I'm reflecting on it. That's what the situational leadership is. Because on that situation, you will respond how you have to respond. With that, let's bring this to an end. Framework for a sustainable society really is fair earnings. जो सी कहने हैं ना, wording change कर रहे हैं बस. किरत करो, वर्ण छको, नाम जपो. By the way, sorry if I'm going to hurt anyone's sentiments. I'm going to just openly say this. I have scratched my head a lot of times. Kirat karo, vर्ण छको, नाम जपो. Where is this coming from? We've done a docu-series in Guru Nanak. We say Guru Nanak gave us these 3 principles. I have found nowhere in the Bani it's written anywhere. It's a good principle. It's a good principle. I'm not denying that. But when we say Guru Nanak gave it to you, yes, we can correlate and we can take it out from there. And it's the right principle. But I think we have to be mindful of the choices of words. It's nowhere written anywhere. We've done 928 Shabads of Guru Nanak, end to end we've recorded them, right? And the next project that's going on currently, nowhere it's written. But that doesn't mean the principles are not wrong, right? Principles are right. So it comes down to the same thing. Fair earnings. Kirat karo. Fair earnings. I'm just changing the language because we've gone through the whole presentation. That's what it is. Fair earnings. Ethical thing, right? Sharing, benevolence. जो Guru Nanak आपने दिखा रहे हैं भाई उठे जो असी कहते हैं कि रब ने तेरा दे अंदर तराजू दे अंदर पाई जा रहे हैं. No. Things can't come. There has to be a philanthropy, right? Someone has to give it because of your good conduct. Someone has to believe in you that you will not misuse it. And therefore you will distribute it. Someone gets a lot of concentration of wealth that has to be distributed in society. Who's going to be the medium to distribute? That's the benevolence that comes in. Benevolence is not always materialistic. Also is the softer power, right? And then self-actualization. Each one of us have to strive towards reflecting, developing and motivating, right? Reflection is Naam. A lot of times we say Naam, name of God. Naam is self-reflection, contemplation inside. Your situation is your situation, my situation is my situation. There's no fixed rule for everyone. With that, I will want to end this session. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. We have a 30-minute documentary by Kamal is here today with us and Rani is here. They've come all the way to, I'll let them introduce in the next scene, but there's a documentary they're going to show, the Bow Foundation, they're going to show this documentary, 30 minutes, in which you will get more deeper into the whole quest and the pursuit. I strongly recommend that have a look at that documentary. You will get more insights from it. Any questions I'm happy to take. Normally this is not the forum to take question and answers, but I've been allowed the flexibility. I'm happy to do that.